Welcome to episode 86 of The Leap Home, Promised Land.
In this week's episode, Sam returns home to Elk Ridge at Christmas, but finds himself caught up in a robbery as three brothers attempt to steal from the local bank to pay back a loan secured against the family farm. When matters get out of control, Sam tries to find a way to resolve the dispute peacefully. But can he get the trio out of the branch in one piece and save the farm? Or will he be forced to choose between the two?
See these? That's what my father left my brothers and me when he died. We get up before the sun. We don't rest till after dark.
Evening, Ian. How are things?
Yeah, I'm not bad here with my inheritance.
You got up after, what is it? You got up after daylight and then go to bed before, I don't know.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Nah. You're the opposite of what I'm trying to say.
You're trying to say that I get up late and go to bed early. I don't go to bed that early. We return to Elk Ridge, California. Not California, whatever state it is.
Midwestern, I think.
Arkansas.
It's a bit of a palate cleanser, I think. After the shenanigans and goings on of the last 3 weeks, I think this is a...
There's one or two interesting angles here. There's not a huge amount of meaty...
I think it's a meh episode. Sorry.
Yeah. Shall we rapidly head in that direction? Start with the socials.
Go for it.
At Leap Home Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, etc. Show notes at theleaphome.com. If you want to head in that direction, you can leave comments and stuff. Or if you're even more impatient, you'll find next week's episode already on YouTube on the Columbo Podcast Productions channel. You can subscribe there. You can hit the bell for notifications and leave any likes and comments you want. Ready?
Let's crack on.
Back to the traditional format this week with the introduction, the little tag that we saw at the end of last week's episode where Sam leaps into this bank robbery and is told by his brother not to get cold feet, essentially, and realises what's going on, gives the old boy. We get the standard credits and we return after a wee exterior shot set to Christmas music to the local bank in Elk Ridge on the 22nd of December 1971.
Well, Sam is noticing that everyone seems fearful, including his fellow robbers, and that the place does seem quite familiar.
Something's gnawing at him.
The apparent leader of the gang, I think he tells everyone to, put their hands up, be quiet, it's a robbery.
Keep away from the alarm button, essentially. And then, having pushed past an elderly couple, he asks the teller to fill a bag with a very, very specific amount of money.
How much?
$37,893.19.
That is very specific.
Very, very specific. It also doesn't make a lot of sense in the context of the
we'll get to that
discussion.
Yeah. I think at this point he asked to get the manager, Vernon, in there.
Yeah, well, there's not enough cash to fill this request and they don't have access to the safe without the branch manager.
So it becomes clear that he knows who this Vernon is.
Yes, and shortly thereafter it becomes clear that they know who he is.
Yes, the teller recognises him as Neil Waters. Is it Walters?
Walters.
Neil Walters. And an old man asks if he's Bill Walters' boy.
It's almost comedic. I quite enjoyed that moment. There's not an immediate solution to their problem because the manager's out of town right now. He's not even going to be back until much later that afternoon, which gives Sam the notion that he might be able to nip this in the bud.
Yeah, he suggests that they just leave, but Neil is reluctant, and then the alarm goes off. And so Sam, as I think his name is Willie in this episode,
Willie Waters,
is told to check the back, and when he finds this is clear, he goes to look in the back office for the person who has set off this warning.
Yes, there's a third teller hiding in that room.
Yeah, she's hiding under a desk, and he brings her into the main area as Neil shouts for the alarm to be turned off. He's starting to panic.
Yeah, well, this is not how he thought things were going to go.
No, I'm not sure what his plan is. Neil is what I think today would be classed, and maybe even back then, as a moron. His plan is ridiculous. I don't know why the brothers have went along with this, but...
Well, he's in charge. He's the oldest.
Yeah. Anyway, he's starting to panic and asks Sam what they should do. But he is too late with his suggestion of using the back door.
He's too late altogether. The youngest brother, John, tells him that the police chief, Clyde Mundy, has just pulled up outside.
I quite like Mundy.
I do quite enjoy Mundy. He's the kind of guy you could have as a recurring sort of guy on a different show.
I don't think Bob Geldof would like him.
Why is that?
He hates Mondays.
Moving on.
Where do we find ourselves?
Well, Al shows up at this point and confirms to Sam that Mundy's the chief of police and urges Sam to make his excuses.
Yeah, so they both head to the bathroom where he and Al can speak in private.
You're William Walters Jr., but everybody calls you Willie. It's 22nd of December, 1971.
Where am I?
You're home, Sam. You're in Elk Ridge, Indiana.
I'm home?
Mm-hmm.
No wonder everything seems so familiar.
Yeah, well, your memory's a little Swiss cheese, you know.
It's 71. My dad's still alive. I'm home, and my dad's still alive. Willie Walters? I know a guy named Willie Walters. A couple years older than me. He had a couple of brothers, and damn, I can't remember.
Well, the big one is Neil. He's a couple of years older than you. He's a loose cannon. He enlisted in the Marine Corps in '69, and then he took a compassionate discharge a year later.
Why?
His father died, and he came back to take charge of the family farm. The younger one is John. He's still in high school. He's never been in any kind of trouble.
Yeah, until now. What about Willie?
Willie, Indiana State University, honor student. He didn't come back home in time.
In time for what?
To save the family farm from foreclosure. It seems they were late a couple of months on a loan. $37,893.
And 19 cents?
Yeah.
They're robbing the bank to pay the bank?
Well, that has a certain symmetry to it.
More like insanity. I don't believe this. Why does Ziggy say I'm here?
In the original history, the brothers were killed trying to escape. Ziggy says there's an 88.9% chance that you're here to see that the brothers surrender.
Yeah, as I said, these brothers are idiots.
And Neil in particular.
Yeah. I mean, literally, what does he think's the outcome here? He's going to rob the bank for precisely, not a penny more, precisely the amount they need, walk back in the next day and say, oh, that money that we owe you, here it's here. Oh, that's the same amount that we were robbed for yesterday.
Yeah, that's his plan.
And so why is Sam, who's meant to be the brainy brother, why is he getting involved in this?
He maybe just felt it was important to support his brother because he feels guilty about not being there when his father died.
Oh, only an idiot would do that. He would say, don't do this, Neil. It's a incredible... Talk me through it, Neil. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
Realistically, how do you think this is going to play out? If everything goes perfectly with the robbery, Neil, explain what happens.
He'll hand him the cash, he'll walk out, and then he'll return to see the manager the next day and pay off the debt.
A moustache. A moustache and a...
No, they wouldn't have recognised his plan. They don't recognise him when he steals the money.
Yeah.
And it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
For a change, Ziggy has advice here for Sam. We heard it, 88.9% certainty on what he's here to do.
Yes.
We often complain that Ziggy doesn't help, but here we go. There's an easy answer, Sam. Just surrender, everything will be fine.
He wants to know what happens to the farm after this incident. But before Al can answer, John rushes in to tell Sam to get out as the phone is ringing. Why would that be odd?
Why would what be odd?
Well, he rushes in and says, Sam, you need to come out, or Willie, you need to come out.
You just want Neil to speak to the police chief.
But he doesn't know it's the police chief. It's a bank.
Assuming.
The phone, I'd imagine, would be ringing all the time.
Oh, it could be a customer.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious if it had been a customer. Hello. Hi, I'd like to check my balance. Nothing.
Anyway, he goes out, and decides to answer it. Why would Neil not answer this?
I assume Neil didn't know what to say or didn't want to take,
because he's stupid.
They defer to Sam as. I mean, I think we can see from Neil that it takes more than just brawn to run a farm.
But this is why I've got an issue. If Sam was also idiotic, he's been led astray by the big brother, but we understand that that's not the relation, that's not the dynamic. So why is Willie a willing participant in this nonsense?
He maybe just thought it was going to go to plan, but I guess...
The plan, but even if it went to a certain point, even if it went to plan, you're getting caught. You're calling the manager Vernon.
I think Willie's there to have a face-off with Vernon. I don't think he's there to steal the money. I think he's originally there because he wants to have a proper conversation at gunpoint with this guy that's robbed the family.
Okay. Anyway, who's on the phone?
It's the police chief, and he urges Sam and the others to come out peacefully.
Where is he at the moment?
He's across the road in the cafe.
The diner?
Yes, I quite enjoyed the fact that Sam at this point lets the other two know that the police have identified them, and John laments the fact that they didn't wear wigs.
I mean, I liked Mondays. I don't think he's a good cop, and we'll discuss this. But I like his relaxed demeanour. They start to have quite an informal chat on the phone as, they work out they both know each other, and he advises that they just hand over the guns and come out peacefully.
Neil's not on board with this. He wants to wait and see Gus Vernon because he can unmake this loan on the account of it being an unfair deal.
You see, I've got an issue with the legalities of both parties here and the consequences. I'm not suggesting that Vernon is not unethical. I'm sure he's quite a scummy guy. But there's a very fine line or a grey area between them being forced to sign or take out a loan.
Or deceived.
It's like any type of sales. But I mean, a bank is trying to sell you, that's their business, to try and get loans. That's how they make money as well and operate. So there is a grey area between selling you something that perhaps isn't necessarily in your best interest than outright sort of fraud.
Yeah, so I suppose this is back before the days when the bank had to say to you, we're not offering you advice on this product. Please sign here to confirm that you've taken financial advice from a third party.
Yeah.
This is a case where, and we hear later on in the conversations that Vernon has pretty much coerced Neil into signing this.
Well, that's what they say, but I'm not sure how that's implemented is never described.
Well, he's led Neil to believe that he's going bust if he doesn't take the loan, based on what his account activity is, and that may or may not be true. We're led to believe it might not be true.
See, these days anyway, a business would have their own accountant, would look over the books and advise you and say...
Instead of that, you've got Neil who is running this business and doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
So he's an easy mark.
Yeah. I would suggest that based on what we've seen here from Neil, it makes no difference. This farm, this business is going out of business if Neil is in charge. Because look at his decision making is appalling. All three of them are terrible decision makers. I would not trust him to run a tuck shop, never mind a larger enterprise. So I say I don't think Sam. In fairness, Sam is only here apparently. He's not here to save the farm. He's here to stop them being killed. Because they don't deserve to have this farm. They're idiots.
Sam always thinks there's something else.
Yeah, of course he does. In any case, Sam politely tells Monday he wants to get Vernon on the phone and then hangs up.
Well, no, that's not exactly how it goes. What happens is Monday tells him that Vernon's at Harker Falls and it'll take quite some time for him to come back. And then Sam, I think, handles this really cleverly. He says, you better hurry up then, but he says in this sort of folksy way that is almost disarming for the police officer, and then says, it was nice talking to you again before hanging up.
I think that's Sam reverting somehow to his past. That's how people would have spoken in that area back then.
I enjoyed this next part where we switched to the diner area and take it from Monday's point of view, because I was concerned that it was going to be kind of, the whole episode was going to be in the bank. Yeah. And the stuff outside we just wouldn't hear about it.
I think that's why we have these scenes, because you need to cut away to somewhere else. Yeah. A confused Monday then tells the young cook, Billy, to go on his bike and bring Vernon back before sitting down for a piece of pecan pie. I like this, a bit of pecan pie myself.
Yeah, he's pouring copious amounts of sugar into his coffee as he's approached by a man named Carl.
An agitated Carl, whose wife is apparently in the bank as one of the hostages, and he wants to know what Monday is going to do about it.
He's very unimpressed by Monday's demeanour.
And his response, what's he going to do?
He says he's going to enjoy his coffee and his cake and wait for Vernon to come back. So what's happened here is Monday's assessed the situation, and he's determined that these three boys aren't going to shoot anybody.
Yes.
Which is brave and maybe
perhaps foolish.
Well, it's one of these ones where it's not procedure, so he's going out on a limb here, and he will be responsible to a certain extent if there's any...
Yeah, now, whilst I like Monday and I like him as a character, I do have an issue with his policing, which we can maybe chat about a bit later on. Now, who is Carol's wife?
It's the youngest of the three Clarks, the one with the long dark hair. We hear later on about her sister with the eye patch.
Okay, is that Beth or Cindy?
Cindy. Beth is the pregnant one, and I think Carrie is the antagonistic one.
Yeah, so Carol's wife isn't pregnant?
No, Carl's wife is the sort of mousy brown-haired one.
Right. Back at the bank, the gang accept the advice of a pregnant teller. That's Beth. That's Beth. And remove their masks as they all know who they are.
Yes, one of the other teller, I think...
Cindy.
Since this is the one with the dark hair.
I think so.
She asks why they're doing this, and Neil insists on responding.
Yes, he shows his hands. I think, is that what we heard?
That was the opening clip. This doesn't make sense to me. How's his father leave him his hands?
Well, I think what he's left him is the land which he has to sort of manually work.
But his hands don't represent the land.
Well,
Anyway,
He gets his hands dirty. That's what they're going for.
he does have to work hard, but unfortunately he doesn't seem to have the nous to direct that work in a productive way.
No, and he blames Vernon for what he sees as being conned out of the farm by making them believe that they had to get a loan to modernise the business.
Yeah, basically what he says here is Vernon came to him and persuaded him to modernise and increase his yield by investing in new technology.
Now, you see, that's why I've got an issue here. There is no description here of intimidation. It's salesmanship. It's, oh, you should be modernising. I think, if you do that X, Y, and Z, you'll improve, you'll make more money. And that is what salespeople, maybe unscrupulous and unethical ones, but that's what they do. They say that if you invest in this or do that, you can make more money and it's required.
What they don't tell you is around the other side of his farm, he's got a monorail.
Yes. But also, he's taking business advice about modernisation from a bank manager. I would be saying, Vernon, what do you know about running a farm?
He is probably a bit gullible and easily persuaded. Mm-hmm. And to what extent is there an onus on the banker to not take advantage of that?
Let's be clear, yes. Vernon is certainly, at the very least, unethical and immoral.
And a scumbag.
But hey, business is business.
Yeah, we've seen people like that succeed throughout history.
We see bankers making quite a... Yeah. Anyway, Sam confidently joins in and wants to hear from Vernon that it was just business, as Cindy claims.
But Carrie claims.
Is it Carrie?
Yes. Carrie's the one who's on Vernon's side.
Right. Okay. So who's Cindy? The pregnant one?
No, that's Beth. Yeah, Sam wants Vernon to explain this face to face because I think he's tapping into his own recollections of his father losing his farm, talking about selling the cows to make payments and stuff like that.
Sure. Al reappears with news that the farm was part of a parcel of land bought at auction by developers who then went on to build a huge shopping centre, and Vernon was apparently corrupt and made a fortune on kickbacks.
Yeah, but Sam's not able to keep this under his hat and blurts it out. And Carrie says that's crazy.
Is that Carrie? That's not Cindy?
No, it's not Cindy.
Okay. But an elderly hostage thinks that sounds just like bankers.
At this point, Al yet again wants Sam to excuse himself without realising how crazy it looks that he keeps trying to go to the toilet in the middle of a hostage taking.
Well, I mean, you'd be quite nervous, wouldn't you?
Well, you would.
I think Neil, at this point, I've noted that he looked like a young Eric Bana.
Okay.
Just in this particular shot, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he himself is surprised by this revelation.
Yeah, that Sam needs to pee again. But Sam says he doesn't.
No, I think that's a revelation about the corruption.
Well, he's not. Yeah, he doesn't necessarily believe it straight away. He's not heard this from Willie before.
No, so I think at this point, all Neil knows is that he was, he took out a loan that he didn't need.
Yeah.
But he didn't know about the actual alleged corruption in terms of taking kickbacks
and from his position, there's no way that Willie could know that either. So this is quite surprising information.
Yeah, why didn't you tell him?
Yeah, but where's this come from? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they get into Vernon's office where Al doesn't like his I'm going to save the world look that...
Yeah, Al's always a bit conservative in these things. He doesn't think Sam should be going around doing extracurricular tasks.
You say conservative, I think sensible. I mean, we know how much history can be changed if you do. It's changing history anyway, but you want to keep that to a minimum. I think it's quite well observed by Al that Sam's got this habit. And he tells him the leap will soon be over if they can get the brothers to surrender.
Sam thinks, though, that staying alive and losing the farm is just as bad as being killed.
He also, I think it's, Sam wants, and he must want to stay around to see his family.
Yeah, and I think, though, he is, and we get to this in more detail later, he is conflating his own family's experience with what the Walters are going through here.
Yeah. Al is sympathetic, but reminds him that he can probably leap if he gives them up. Of course, Sam has no intention of heading off away from his home, and even the thought of saving the brothers isn't compelling enough. So has he been quite selfish here, do you think?
Maybe to an extent. This is when he talks about his dad losing their farm and how he feels guilty and has carried guilt around his whole life about not being there to help.
So, like Willie, Sam went off to university.
Yes, and wasn't there when his father lost the farm. Or when he died, perhaps. I'm not 100% sure. But he thinks that if he exposes Vernon here, it could maybe help everybody.
Now, from outside, we see Neil shake his head as he watches Sam talk to himself. Yeah.
Al points out to Sam that the mall's not going to be built for another 2 years, which maybe causes a bit of a problem for his chain of evidence.
But Al agrees to go and try and get some help from Ziggy. So an optimistic Sam then mentions that if it all works out, he might have time to see his family before he leaps.
How's that going to work? He's not part of his family right now.
No.
He's just going to show up at their house, say, hi, I'm Willie
weird.
Walters, feed me.
Yeah.
He comes out of the office, though, and addresses the entire group of hostages.
Yeah, in an attempt to get them to understand that they're not in danger and it's all going to be over soon. That sort of, to an extent, defeats the purpose. If you say, you know what, guys, there's no way I'll shoot you.
They'll just leave.
Just walk out then.
Yeah. He says that they hope to get everything settled once Vernon arrives and asks John to stay away from the window but keep an eye on the front door.
Neil then asks him what he meant about Vernon being involved in some sort of corruption and seems to take it as a personal slight that he conned him before Sam sits down and gets into an emotional conversation with the Pierces after the old guy asks him not to point his pea shooter at them.
You folks had a dairy farm just a couple miles from. You've lived around here for a long time, haven't you?
54 years.
We moved here the year after we got married.
You've been married 55 years. That's great. Listen, do you by any chance know, the Beckett family, John Beckett?
Oh, yeah. Everybody in this part of the county knows John and Thelma Beckett. Fine family. One of their boys just came back from Vietnam.
Tom. His name is Tom. When was the last time you saw Mr. Beckett?
Let's see. I ran into him at Benning's hardware store just 2 days ago.
How'd he look?
Same as usual.
I remember one time Stan was away and I took sick, and John drove me to the doctor. Waited over an hour and then he drove me home. He's a fine man.
Yes, he is.
You know my sister, Mandy Greer? She was in your history class. You must remember she had long red hair and braces. Patch over her right eye.
Yeah. Sure, she was in the high school production of Peter Pan. She played Captain Hook. Gee, that was a long time ago. How's she doing?
She got her braces off.
Oh.
She still wears a patch.
I would have loved it if the old boy there had said, John, yeah, I remember him. He was a wrong'un. When I was away, he tried it on with the...
I took her to the doctors and hung around all day.
Yeah. Back in the car, he was trying to,
Wandering hands.
Scum. Not a lot of people know it. He hides it well, but he's a beast. Anyway.
Sam, at this point, turns to Beth, the pregnant teller.
Yeah, she's also sympathetic to the cause.
Yes, he tells her that he's sorry she got mixed up in this, but she says that her own father lost his place a while back, and the way that she sees it, Vernon has it coming, which upsets Carrie.
Cindy.
No, Carrie.
Okay.
Stop it.
Yeah. Yes, who thinks that they should stand up for their boss, who, according to Beth, she's sleeping with in order to keep her job.
Yeah, well, this is the two women clearly don't get on, and Beth says that at least she doesn't have to sleep with the boss to maintain her position. They're about to kick off.
Yeah, Sam has to separate them.
And when he does, he notices how very pregnant Beth is and thinks maybe it was worth letting her go.
But this doesn't go down well with Neil.
Yeah, no, he wants her for leverage.
Which causes Sam to grab him and claim that he has lost focus on his objectives before they are distracted by the arrival of Vernon outside.
Yes, and we can see through the blinds that Vernon is an absolute wrong'un.
Oh yeah, he's come back again. He enters the diner and it's obvious that he's, as you say, a slimy character as he demands to know from Monday why the bank is being robbed. What do you mean why?
It's a bank that has money.
I think maybe he means, why is this being allowed to happen on your watch?
Perhaps. But Monday explains to him it's not being robbed, it's being occupied.
He remains very sort of cool and calm and reminds him that it's the town's bank and not his.
It's quite clear that Monday has very little sympathy for Vernon himself.
Vernon is told that it is the Walters boys inside, and his pondering of who they are upsets their mother Mary, who has arrived and declares that their way of life has been murdered.
Is this a biblical reference?
Is it?
Another Mother Mary. Anyway, Monday asks her to place a call to the bank and talk her boys down, but she has no interest in doing that and tells Monday he should be ashamed to be standing side by side with Vernon,
who she considers to be the devil. It's a bit harsh.
Well,
Devil?
Do you see him?
Yeah, well.
She then proceeds to lecture Vernon on his lack of moral standing.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to listen. However, Mary stops him leaving and states that they aren't the first or last to go under, but she won't sit and let him steal their land from beneath him.
Everyone applauds. Some people fall to their knees. There's raptures at the end of this speech.
Back in the manager's office, Neil is getting anxious that no one has made contact, and
he's feeling a little emasculated, let's be honest. He wants to shoot his big gun to show how manly he is.
Yes. The brothers end up pushing and shoving, as we see that Neil is jealous of his college boy brother who knows everything.
Yes, but Neil knows which buttons to press to antagonise Sam. He calls them out for running away and reckons that their father would still be around if if Willie, in this case, hadn't taken off for college. Yeah,
still alive. That's quite a dig.
It really is. And Sam takes this personally because obviously he feels...
It resonates with his own...
Yes. So he thumps Neil and tells him not to say that he doesn't care again. So we then jump forward a bit of time, and in case we missed that not particularly subtle point, Sam repeats it in a voiceover for the hard of thinking.
Yes. He kneels beside his younger brother, John, who unconvincingly claims not to be scared.
Sam says that he personally is scared and apologises to John for having hit Neil. That's maybe the wrong focus there.
Yeah. And doesn't believe it when John claims that Neil didn't mean what he said. He then furtively asks Sam if he can keep a secret before describing how a few weeks earlier Neil got off the tractor he was on and asked him to get into the truck. They drove to their father's grave and spent hours just sitting there, and it felt to John that they were waiting on something to happen.
Yes, and then Neil started talking about Willie and how proud of him he was and how he was smart to get out and life's too short to spend it miserable and full of regret before crying. These character beats that we get on Neil don't tie in with the finish, so we'll come back to why I'm not happy about that finish, but this is interesting development on Neil.
Sam looks over at the mournful Neil before Al arrives, and he again excuses himself to speak to him. And as he walks away, John admits that he is in fact scared.
Yeah. In the bathroom, Al tells Sam nothing was ever officially on paper, but it might be on paper at Vernon's house. He might have a secret plan written down in his secret mastermind diary.
Yeah, if you're getting... would you write these things down?
Dear developer...
Yes, I agree to be corrupt on your behalf. I would like some money in return.
I'm keeping this file.
Yeah. So, Sam wants to go there, and Al advises him that he will need to create a diversion.
Just then a diversion comes to the bathroom door.
What's that?
It's the very pregnant Beth, and we skip forward a few minutes to Sam explaining again the plan to her, but in front of all the hostages.
Yeah, I think she's up for it because she doesn't like... Kerry?
Well, we find out here. Yes, Sam's told her the plan off screen, so we don't hear Sam explain the plan, but we hear her repeating it back to him. He wants her to go out the front door, go into the middle of the road and pretend to go into labour.
Which is what she does.
Well, she's delighted by how upset Carrie is about the idea and signs on. And yes, she does. She puts this into action as Vernon, Monday and another cop watch her from behind a car.
Yeah, she feigns labour and collapses to the ground. And in the commotion, Sam is able to sneak down an alley and follow Al's direction towards Vernon's house. But at the same time, we see a nervous Carol sitting in his truck and producing a gun.
Yes, this is kind of an underserved plot line in this episode.
Yeah, didn't feel fully formed.
Yeah. Especially when all the major action happens off screen.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Back in the bank.
Neil is on edge and he's shouting at the old man Stan and telling himself that everything will be all right.
Meanwhile, Sam is doing his extremely, extremely silly run, but is struggling with his fitness, and Al remarks that the next time he might leap into Carol Lewis.
Sure, so it won't matter. He's still Sam.
I've got to say that. So whose body is it? Carol Lewis's body or no?
And who's impregnating people?
Yes, anyway. But he gets a second wind when he recognises the road he has to take and that his own family farm is just 10 miles away.
Just 10 miles? That's quite a
massive amount.
If you're one walking in.
I suppose in these sort of Midwestern places, you might, these farms, your neighbour is 10 miles away. That's
Yeah, it's only 3 hours walking from there.
Yeah. Well, it must be, I can imagine how frustrating it must be that if you know the father your dead father who you've not seen for many years.
Well, you saw him last season.
Yeah, that should be enough, shouldn't it? Yeah. But for some reason, Al tells him that he could not be blamed for doing his own thing. Why was he saying this?
Because he doesn't want him to get involved with Vernon. He wants him to go back and save the other two from the bank.
No, Al's giving him directions to Vernon's house.
I know, but he's not on board with the plan. He's not saying not to do it, but he's saying, oh, no one will blame you if you just want to just carry on.
In any case, Sam declines when the offer of a lift is presented to him.
By a passerby, yes.
Yeah.
Inside the house, Sam comes through a window and realises that the whole place is a tip.
Yeah. I think he breaks through and falls in his face because he doesn't know what he's doing. And he remembers Vernon was a class president when they were kids, but was disqualified for some sort of vote rigging.
Yeah, stuffing the ballot box. Sam is looking for some kind of safe, but Al is able to locate a strong box.
Yes. However, as he ponders how to get into it, he is caught red-handed by the owner, who is now pointing a gun at him and relieves Sam of his own weapon.
You haven't changed since high school, have you, Gus?
High school? What do you know about what I was like in high school?
Why'd you do it? How could you steal all those people's land?
What you call stealing, I call business.
Guess it makes it a little easier to sleep at night.
I saw an opportunity, so I took it.
What a nozzle. I'd like to grab his Adam's apple and pull it out through his nostrils.
Now, most of the farms were so far under they couldn't see the light of day.
So you decided to put them out of their misery.
Nobody forced anyone to do anything he didn't want to do.
The hell you didn't. You intimidated them, and then you stole their lives right out from underneath them. Also, you could turn a profit.
Yeah, well, you can't prove that, can you?
No, I can't. But I'll bet there's plenty of proof in here.
You're crazy.
Am I? Why don't we open this and find out?
No, I don't think so. I'll tell you what I am going to do, though. I'm going to call Chief Mundy and tell him that I just killed me an intruder.
I was wrong. You have changed.
What are you doing?
Sam, what are you doing?
Go ahead, shoot me in the back. It's more your style, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't do that, Sam. It's not a good idea.
You know, you made a big mistake coming back home. You should have stayed away.
That makes two of us.
Ow! Oh!
First of all,
I think Sam is making stuff up here about intimidation. There's not, but where's he getting this from? I think they've been well sold by a slimy salesman.
well, he doesn't deny that he's intimidated them.
Yeah, but that was after Sam accused him of it.
Yeah. Also, I like the fact that Vernon took the opportunity to lay out his evil plan before shooting Sam.
Yes. But just going back to that, sorry, I don't think that these farm boys would be in any way intimidated. I think to do this, the best way to do it, they're not the most intelligent. I think, explaining...
I don't think it's physical intimidation. He's talking about the fact that he's persuaded them that they're going to lose their business if they don't do this.
Sure.
It's financial intimidation.
Okay. Yeah, so we heard there, Sam uses his karate kicks and knocks out Vernon and then takes a gun and shoots open, that's a dangerous thing to do, shoots open the box and finds the proof that they were looking for.
Immediately, it's the first thing he looks at.
In the form of
all the evidence.
A letter of intent from the developer, and almost goes for a high five with Al, quite like that.
Yeah. So he then picks up Vernon and heads back to town.
That takes some strength.
Yeah.
To carry a man who's about the same size as you on your shoulder easily. See, just to pick them up.
Yeah.
Really difficult.
I imagine so.
Anyway, Al tells them that he needs to get to Monday. Yeah, but maybe discuss this when we get to Monday.
Back at the diner, the cop who was guarding the back door reports to Monday that Carl thumped him, knocked him down and went in the back door, and then he heard shots from inside, which is concerning to Mrs. Walters.
Yeah, Mary is worried that one of her boys has been injured and pleads with Monday to do something. She's a chancer here.
Her tune has changed.
Yes. She didn't want to help at all, and now that she needs the Monday, she's all, please, you should be helping. Pick a side.
Hypocrite.
Yep.
Sam at this point pulls up in Vernon's car with the horn blaring. It's quite an annoying horn.
Yeah, and so Monday goes out and orders him to drop his gun.
Why is he holding a gun?
Asking to be shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, oh.
Anyway, Sam obliges and then goes on to produce the paperwork which he thinks will get him off from taking hostages in a bank. So
this whole bit, I have strong concerns about.
Massive concerns. Monday suddenly becomes an expert in commercial white-collar crime, and after glancing at for a few seconds at this piece of paper, believes that he is enough to put Vernon away for a long time. Monday's a hick cop. It doesn't. What do you think's on this piece of paper?
So,
I agree to take kickbacks and do illegal stuff. Signed.
Yeah, the only interpretation I've got that makes sense is he's trying to win over Sam. So by telling Sam, yes, this is the evidence, that allows Sam to de-escalate.
You've been very generous, Sarah, with that.
The only thing I could think of that would make, because otherwise, yeah, it makes sense. Put Vernon away for a long time. Look at one bit of paper.
Yeah. I mean, this is there's massive grey area.
Yeah, and for all he knows, Sam just made this up, wrote this himself.
Yeah, there's no proof. You don't have enough. Oh, we'll just let Sam go, and now you're nicked. Come with me, Vernon.
However, at this point, Sam is sidetracked by the information about the shooting inside the bank.
Al tells him that it's his brother John who's been shot, and so Sam persuades Monday to let him go back in to talk to Carol before the state cops are sent in. Heavy-handed, I'd imagine.
Troopers. Inside, John is down on the ground, and Neil...
Well, he appears to be dead.
He looks like he's dead, and Neil is angry with Carl for having shot him, but hasn't shot Carl, or someone has shot Carl.
Yeah.
Did Neil shoot Carl? Or John?
In the crossfire. Somebody shot somebody. Yeah, he's being cradled by Beth, who is begging for Neil not to take revenge.
No, he's been cradled by his wife, Cindy.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know who these people are. Cindy, Beth,
He talked
Carrie.
earlier about being married to Cindy, and this is Cindy that's holding with the dark hair, with the sister with the eye patch.
Sure, okay.
Right, Sam checks on John, finds out that he's alive, and Neil says he didn't mean for this to happen, but he's not going to let Vernon get away with it.
You see, this is why, and I'm glad that the resolution does take this into consideration. Even if you think you're doing something for the right reason, taking hostages can lead to, it's just really, really dangerous, irresponsible behaviour.
Yeah, at this point, Sam tells Neil it's okay, they have the proof to put Vernon away and save the farm, which leads Neil to become, I think, almost suicidal. Yeah,
I mean, also, I don't think that they'll get the farm back necessarily. Even if he's taking kickbacks, the developers have still got a contract.
Not yet in this one, though. This one's not been foreclosed on. So at this stage, they're just behind in payments, and they're about to be foreclosed.
Right, so if they get the money back from the bank...
If the loan's written off by the bank or whatever, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Neil tells Sam that their father would be proud of him and that he himself has always been a disappointment, but Sam responds by saying, you were the one that was here for him when he needed you, and you'll always have that over me, which is a kind of a passive-aggressive, weird thing to say. And Neil finishes by saying that he loved his dad, and you think, okay, this guy's changed. You know, he's made contact with his feelings. The future's bright for him. Yeah. And he wish he'd told him that he loved him. Yes. Which Sam weirdly says you just have before they begin to move their brother away. That makes no sense. No, it doesn't. For some reason, the police leave and take no action at this moment against Neil. Well, for now. Yeah. As Al informs Sam that Vernon ends up convicted of fraud and the farmers no longer face foreclosure. But he only served 6 months. He wasn't put away for years, like Monday told him. So Monday was wrong. Yeah, 6 months. If you've committed massive fraud, you would think you get more than 6 months. He loses his banking license, at least. Yeah. So there'll be no future victims. He definitely won't go into any kind of bonds or scams of any other kind. Of course not. Ponzi schemes and whatever, yeah. John and Willie, they get probation from a lenient judge. That's a very lenient judge. They've been friend of the family. Yeah. Someone's been shot. Yeah. I would maybe have resolved this differently. Maybe if he'd shown the shootings, show that John did the shooting and Neil took the blame for it, that would be a better character. Yeah. See, the problem is if they all go to jail, then we know that the farm gets lost anyway. Yes, they need the two of them out to save the farm. I don't believe this. This resolution that Neil gets here is unbelievable. Okay, so what happens to him? Al says that he is convicted of aggravated assault, serves 5 years, and unreleased drifts around the country and is eventually shot dead in an alley in 1977 as part of a robbery. Yeah. Now, it wasn't 100% clear, but I'm assuming that he was the robber, not just a bystander. Yeah, the impression was given, his life just goes... But it gave a nice irony if he was just shot in a crossfire. Yeah, but why did he not go back to the farm?
I don't know. I mean, we know from the start he doesn't deserve it. Neil is an idiot.
Yeah, but they've resolved their issues.
But I suppose Sam now basically runs the farm because he's the brains.
But he doesn't want to. He's got a college degree. He wants to go off.
Maybe he said, I need to come back now. My college degree was in business. I'm going to use that now to run.
So why can't Neil come and work with him?
Because he doesn't want
ego.
Ego. Yes, yeah. He doesn't think that he can contribute. Sam's got it all in hand, and he feels useless.
Al at this point tells Sam that they can't all be happy endings, which is complete.
It's always
of what
just
we've
about
always
every.
done.
I'm thinking, what episode wasn't a happy ending, or where the goal wasn't achieved?
The only one that even comes close is when Sam got executed for murder, but he did do the murder. So
yeah, and in this case, the ending is not necessarily happy, but it's what was meant to happen. He wasn't there to save anyone in the future.
Yeah, well,
that's the thing as well. This is 5 years down the line. Sam can't be controlling what happens to people 5 years after his leap.
It's true, but it seems a little bit contrary to the tone of the show generally.
Yeah, but I don't mind that.
Yeah, I think it's a bit harsh on Neil.
We know Neil's a wrong'un.
I don't think it fits with what we've seen of Neil in this episode. You see him have this arc going from this sort of half-witted idiot at the start to reconciling with Sam and getting in touch with his own emotions and realising he's made mistakes, and then he throws it all out the window and goes back to being the first guy.
I disagree. I think it is in line with what we've seen. He's a hothead, he's an idiot, and he had issues with Sam being the de facto leader of the family. Now, he can accept, in this episode he sort of accepts that, and he knows he's made a mistake, but that doesn't mean to say he changes. Yeah. And I think this is the type of thing he would do. He leaves the farm, he says, nah, Sam, I'm out here. He becomes a drifter and he needs money, so gets involved. We know he's got a tendency just when things go bad to start robbing.
Well, Sam's only upset about this for a moment because something more important comes up.
Yeah, he is distracted by the sight of someone across the street.
Okay, John. Yeah, Sam. Sam!
Dad, wait a minute. You're real. You're alive. And you're real.
Well, I believe that's true. Do I know you?
Know me? Of course you know me. I'm your...
Oh, no, Sam, no. He can't see you. All he can see is Willie.
I'm Willie Walters.
Bill Walters' boy?
That's right.
I haven't seen you since the funeral. Your father was a good man.
He was the best.
How's your mother?
She's good. She wanted me to give you a message, though.
Message?
Yeah, she wanted me to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to you too, son. Merry Christmas to you.
No.
Firstly, Samson, you're real. What a weird thing to say. He knows his father's alive and real.
He's led back to Elk Ridge multiple times now. He's met his dad again.
Yeah, but even in this episode, he knows his father is there. So the fact that you're real, it's not a surprise that his father's turned up. I mean, obviously it's emotional, but he knows his father is just there. He mentioned it himself.
Yeah.
Anyway, where did he leap there before we...
He leaps into a man meeting his family at an airport and then is called through to the desk where he's got a second family.
Yeah. Oh boy. What I didn't mention as well is that whilst I did like the character of Sheriff Mundy, I've got some issues with his casual form of policing. Now, it's fine when you think he's the good guy, but these are sort of small towns. If you don't, if you are casual and you do things your way, that's fine if you're a good guy. But I would say more often than not, what you have is a corrupt cop, a corrupt racist cop who...
Well, I was going to say, would this be different if it was a family from a minority?
Well, it's like, the boys there, they've went and lynched someone. That's the Walters boys. Listen,
boys will be boys.
Listen, I know the family. So you have to say, you should be policing and to the letter of the law Most of the time. It's all right, small things. But when it comes to bank robberies and people being taken hostage, don't be so casual, because the next cop in the next town might not be a good guy, and when you abuse or do it your way, what you end up doing is abusing people's rights and their liberties and etc. etc. So anyway, that's my rant for this week.
Fair enough. The only little notes I've got are that it's a shame that, or maybe not a shame, you maybe quite liked it, but I didn't like the fact that Al didn't really seem to care that things went badly for Neil in the future. Just reported, it was like, these things go, you win some, you lose some.
Again, 5 years down the line, it's not, I think it's okay.
And then Sam losing control at the end is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's done this too many times. Okay, any other thoughts before we go into the trivia?
Nope.
Originally aired on the 15th of December 1992 after a 2-week break, which we all needed after the horrors of last week. Directed by Scott Bakula, third of his 3 directorial efforts.
Didn't get his top off.
He did not, but he got to run. He previously directed Permanent Wave and Roberto in season 4. The writing credits go to Gillian Horvath and Tommy Thompson. I think Tommy Thompson would have worked on the story that Gillian Horvath sold to them. This is the 12th of his 13 writing credits. His first was Leaping In Without a Net. If you want to hear more about him, go back to that podcast. This is her only Quantum Leap writing credit. She's also written for shows like Miami Vice, Beverly Hills 90210, Xena, Warrior Princess, more recently Supernatural Academy, and is probably most closely associated with the Highlander TV series that ran in the 90s. She's still active. She's now 59. Neil Walters, played by Dwyer Brown.
I saw him recently. I was watching House with...
Well, that's one of the things I've got listed here.
Okay, yeah. My boy, and okay.
So he's best known as Kevin Costner's father in Field of Dreams.
What?
The baseball movie.
Yeah, but he's the same age. He's younger.
He might even be younger, I don't know, but he played Kevin Costner's father.
Must be through some sort of flashback. I can't remember.
I can't remember the start of that movie, but he tells them, if you build it, they will come and all that.
Yeah, it must be Kevin Costner. Must be flashback
from when he was a kid. Yeah. He's also appeared in things like Red Dragon, as you say, House, ER, Ally McBeal. He's now 65. His last screen credit was 2016, but in 2014 he published a book about fatherhood and Field of Dreams and how people reacted to it, to him. And it's called If You Build It. It's still available, and he narrates the audiobook if you're into that sort of thing. Sheriff Mundy was played by Arlen Dean Snyder, his only Quantum Leap. He's also in things like Dallas, Heartbreak Ridge, Murder, She Wrote, and The Wonder Years. He died a few weeks ago in July 2024 at the age of 91.
Oh.
John Walters, the younger brother, played by Chris Stacey. This was his only Quantum Leap. He's also been in Home Improvement, Justified, Modern Family. He's now in his mid-40s, and his last screen credit was in 2015. He's a fan of improv, and he graduated from Second City, Los Angeles, and now has a production company called Bitter Monk Films. Vernon, that slimy man, was played by Jonathan Hogan.
Hawks.
His only Quantum Leap. He's a Tony Award nominee. He's also appeared in LA Law, Law and Order, and House of Cards. He's now 73. His last screen appearance was in 2020. Beth Ryan, played by Elizabeth Dennehy. It's her only Quantum Leap. She's immediately recognisable to fans of Star Trek, The Next Generation, Star Trek Picard, as Commander Shelby. She's also been in things like Seinfeld, Clear and Present Danger, Murder, She Wrote, and Masters of Sex. Her father was Brian Dennehy.
Yes, the well-known fibber.
He's in things like First Blood, Cocoon, Gorky Park, etc. Her husband, James Lancaster, is in things like Titanic, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, and Die Hard 2. She's now 63, still active. Carrie Young, this is the teller who sided with Vernon and was sleeping her way to the top. She was played by Kelly Overbay. This was her only Quantum Leap. She's also in Kate and Alley, Law and Order, 30 Rock, Blue Bloods. She's 59 now, still active. Cindy Wilkins, the third of the tellers, was played by Elizabeth Rainey. This was her only Quantum Leap, but she's not had much of a screen acting career, but she's been a Foley artist on a number of productions, including Resident Alien, The Good Place, Grey's Anatomy, and Justified. A Foley artist provides ambient sound effects, so like clothes brushing against things, squeaking doors, plane noises, all sorts of ambient additional sounds. She was Emmy nominated in 2021 for her work on the show Mythic Quest for Apple TV, and she is the Director of Inclusion and Community Engagement at the Circle X Theatre Company in Los Angeles. Mary Walters, the boy's mother, was played by Laureen Vozoff. Her only Quantum Leap, she's also in things like Little House on the Prairie, Knight Rider, Beverly Hills 90210, ER, Star Trek Voyager, and Murder 1. She's just turned 92 and looks to have mostly stopped doing screen work in 2017. Carl Wilkins, the angry man, was played by James C. Victor. He's still active as an actor. He's also been in things like Beverly Hills 90210, 24, ER, 12 Years a Slave. This was his only quantum leap. Finally, Stan and Leela Pierce were played by Charles and Marion Dugan, a real-life married couple. This was their only quantum leap. They also appeared together in the movies Brain Donors and Jack the Bear. Separately, Marion appeared in Frasier, The Cable Guy, and Matilda before her death in 2015 at the age of 97. And Charles appeared in things like When Harry Met Sally and ER. He died in 2008 when he was 95. In terms of general trivia, second episode we see Scott Bakula play Sam's father. The first one was The Leap Home. First script that Gillian Horvath sold to anybody was this one. Harker Falls, which is where Vernon was, that they had to get him back from. It's named after Harker Wade, a producer on the show. This episode had a lot of similarities to one of my very favourite movies, Hell or High Water, with Chris Pine and Jeff Bridges, except it's much better. Okay. And I highly recommend it. The same basic idea, rob a bank to pay a bank, but it's done. It's a really good movie. Recommend it to everybody who's aged to see it. In terms of things we learned, I'm not sure this is the first time we get confirmation that Tom survived Vietnam.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. That's all I've got on those ones. In terms of on this date, on the 22nd, Kurt Waldheim became the 4th Secretary General of the UN before he later became President of Austria, but faced allegations of involvement in Nazi war crimes and claimed he was just following orders.
There are some things for the 23rd, but that's unusual. I think that's the thing. How many leaps have we had that remain in the same date?
It was more of those at the start.
Was there?
Recent ones have quite often have gone overnight.
Right,
because he's got time to impregnate people.
We can't go
so
for that.
So we can't talk about Jimmy Hoffa.
No, we can't. Corey Haim being born or Tara Palmer
Tompkinson.
Number ones.
Okay.
In the UK, it was Benny Hill with The Fastest Milkman in the West, whilst in the US we had Melanie with A Brand New Key.
Next week, Sam dabbles in bigamy as he tries to choose between two traditional families, so we will see you in 1958.
Until then,
cheerio.
Bye-bye.